Hey guys, this is Elias Tufexis. I play Lot, and you are watching TrekCulture.
We all have an idea that working in prosthetics would be really cool and super fun and amazing, and it's all of those things. There's also a huge piece that nobody really talks about, which is the psychological piece, which is your job is basically you're going to be uncomfortable. So your job as an actor and a performer and an artist is, okay, so you're going to be uncomfortable. So what else? What else are you going to get on the other side of that and find where the play is? Because no matter if you focus on your discomfort, that's where you'll stay. You get on the other side of it and you do the what else thing, and that's where the joy is. And so that was the journey for me a little bit, was getting on the other side of that wall.
That is so interesting because you're right. I mean, you think of, right, I'm going to sit in the chair, there's going to be plasticine molds made, I'm going to be there for hours and hours and hours. And I imagine it must be so easy for that to become the focus that everything else can get lost or pushed to the side.
Yeah.
And like, so, you're there, you're in the pilot, you're a Klingon in the pilot. So your entire journey really with Star Trek has more or less been with prosthetics.
Yes.
Is there a moment where you're just like, can I just be me? Can I just be me? Can I be his crewman in the back? They won't know it's Linus because I'll be out of bed.
It's really fascinating. I think I grew up in the age of practical effects, so I have a huge affinity for this kind of makeup and this kind of process. And when I was young, I'd watch all of the behind the scenes stuff and see the actors with their head casts and think that would be so cool. And so getting to do it is kind of really amazing for me. And working in prosthetics is something I didn't necessarily see coming, but it capitalizes on my really unique skill set and all of my experiences over the years. So at this point, if they said, we'd like you to be a human, I'd be like, I don't know. Of course. But, I'm enjoying the journey of it and the mask work of it. And it's like something unlike anything else I've ever done. So there's an ego piece where if you're standing in a group of people and everyone's very identifiable, and then you're like, I'm like, me too, I'm too. But, there's a really interesting artistic journey.
A big wrist slap, because I didn't realize you played Sukal. How many people did you kill?
I don't know. I don't know. A lot. A large number of people. I was so when they called me, when I got the email about it, I was like, wait, I'm a what? I'm a young, how is this? And watching how they shrunk me down and changed the scale of everything, I was like, when I watched it back, I was like, wow. I couldn't believe it.
That was, there is
a completely different person.
That's it, because I look at Linus and I look at Sukal and I'm like, now hold on. these two are quite different. There is wizardry that goes on, particularly on Discovery, I think, because certainly it was the first one to use as much CGI as it ended up using. I don't think there's no computer graphics go into creating Linus. That's all practical, isn't it?
Everything but the eye blinks.
Oh, that would make sense, of course. Yeah.
And I just had an amazing message after all this time from the special effects artist in LA who's responsible for the blinks. He said he'd been working on my blinks since the first season, and then we had this amazing dialogue about because when I watched back the performance, I was like, oh, I saw where he was inserting blinks. So he was looking for places that my performance suggested a blink, and I was looking for his areas of opportunity, and it was kind of like this beautiful unspoken conversation. And I love watching the performance because there's an element to it that I'm not responsible for, that someone else has added. So it's a surprise. It's this really delicious mix. I love it.
That is super. And like, in terms of your career, like, is this the first time that there has been that kind of collaboration with other artists, that you all create the character together?
To this extent, yeah. Yeah. Like Linus was at the intersection of a lot of different hands from the people who, designed him. And then there's me inside of it. And then there's the blinks. And then there's the people in the sound who are modulating the voice and taking care of that. Like he exists at the hands of a lot of people, which I think is very cool.
That is so cool. Also, I love the fact that I think we saw our first Saurian, as far as I can remember, in 1979, but we saw our first proper Saurian sneeze in Star Trek Discovery, and that's a special moment.
It was a very auspicious debut for the character. I'm gonna say I have a sentimental attachment to the blue uniform, because that was Linus's beginning, and I like that. But I also, for like sort of same reasons, his final uniform, which was his ending, and he was stationed on the bridge, and so that those two were like beginning and end. Like, the blue ones you were zipped into them around the middle, and I enjoyed that part. So you didn't have to keep futzing with the
hard maneuvering. Yeah.
Yeah, but those two were my faves. In terms of the others, like, I don't know, I wore so many outlandish, amazing things, it's hard to pick a favorite.
That is, I mean, again, just, having a glance through, I mean, I understand. I very much love your Beetlejuicean. Is it Cosmo? Cosmo. That was good.
He was bananas. That wardrobe was amazing. I remember talking to Gersha about we were piecing it together, and she was really pulling out inspiration from his like beaky nose, and so he had kind of a vulture vibe up here, and it was like every fitting I went in, there were just like more and more gorgeous aspects to that outfit, and the final result with the mask and the wardrobe was unbelievable. That language was that's not my forte. Klingon was not my forte. I'm not, as it turns out, that stuff is really hard. Learning an invented language is really hard, and luckily I've been able to work with some amazing dialogue coaches and experts who have held my hand through the process. But it is, I don't know, very tricky for me.
I'd well believe it, because I suppose, we have Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, Star Trek, Star Wars, all of these things where we don't have a point of comparison. Like, this means this, or I can sound it out, where in spoken languages, obviously, we do. You have your French to English, which is the same language with a few extra vowels. German, and at least then you can kind of track through and understand the logic of it. Whereas when you've got Klingon, I mean, not only are you trying to remember the words, you're also trying to work through the teeth.
Yes. And then the words, the Klingon language operates in a different word order. And so it's like, it's so not only are you thinking about what the different words mean, but then their English meaning is shuffled around. So it's a lot to stay on top of. And again, like, thank goodness for the experts who are there and being like, try it this way. Thank you.
I do.
I'm obsessed with doing it right. So I want to be as close as possible to the actual thing.
And I mean, to be fair, I would say you nailed it.
Thank you. Like, I would look at someone like Mary Chieffo, who played Laurel, and she would, maybe it's her Shakespearean background, but she would just go on a tear, and I would just I would look at her and I'd be like, man, you're so good. Or Kenneth Mitchell, like lovely Kenneth Mitchell, watching him as Call and watching him just amazing, just amazing.
I remember when we got the news that we were going to get Kenneth completely out of makeup. He was going to play Aurelio in season 3. We were delighted because he could do it all. Do you know what I mean? I think anyone who can do Klingon well, you've got something special, because I think
you do.
Oh,
I know, but did you see the news today?
Right.
I'm like, what? Come on. Like you had me at Holly Hunter, but now you're going to ice the cake with Paul Giamatti? Are you kidding me? I am, like, what's happening? Can't wait.
Because we in the text chat, we were just like, so they really weren't kidding about the budget for this show, were they? You know, like they are throwing money at this.
And the set that they built is apparently one of the biggest. I've just heard like weird rumblings, but it's like the biggest. And I'm like, well, what is it? What is it a set? I can't. Anyways, we'll see. I have no idea.
We will see. And I mean, I will not rest until Linus is teaching a class at the Academy. I'm telling you this right now.
He'd be a good teacher. He's patient. We'll see. I mean, we'll see. I have no idea. I have no idea what their intentions are because it is the same timeline from what I understand.
It was funny that was sort of like revealed in stages. It was like heavily suggested, I think, in the first press release. It was kind of like, all right, if we can pretty much infer. And then it was just sort of, I think it was kind of confirmed as part of a larger sentence. Like, and of course, the 32nd century. And I was like, sorry, what? Sorry, okay, cool. So you're saying cameos. So that's what you're telling us. Lovely. Okay, brilliant. Okay, Linus, the spin-off series.
Oh, everyone seems to want a Star Trek Linus. I'm up for it, but who knows?
Okay, all right, this guy. I see that. That sounds like a man who's had some meetings. Okay, so
no. It was when we got the email about the cancellation. My first thought was, oh no, and I worried that I wasn't going to have a goodbye to the head. Because we traveled so much together, and so getting to go back and do the coda and have that moment on the bridge, I was so grateful for just to be able to re-engage with that community one last time, but also get back inside the head and be like, this is it for now, partner. I mean, he travels with me. There's no getting rid of him, but. It was, I don't know that I'll ever wear that head again. And that's another weird piece to the prosthetic journey is some faces you have on for a brief moment and some faces you spend a lot more time in. And there's a weird emotional attachment to that face.
I think so quickly. I was just like, Linus is funny. Linus is, as you said, Linus is patient. But also, I love that. I think it's the time travel episode. Linus is also Linus gets fashion. I like
that too. Yeah, it was such an interesting moment to play the elevator. I also kind of loved, and I wrote an email to Sonequa. I also kind of love that Linus, had this really big moment in an elevator when he first. And then we have this beautiful element in the moment with Sonequa and what is the final season. That kind of book ending is kind of beautiful. That was a really fun moment to play. Those little Linus moments. They're sometimes they can be high pressure because they're like, okay, you have to do everything hilarious and amazing in this little window, but you just do it. I remember being on set, and I think that was like episode 6 of the 3rd season. And so in the early episodes of that season, and I kept, because the crew get scripts before we see them. And so people kept coming up to me and saying, oh yeah, there's a Linus thing coming up. You're going to love it. And so I was like, what is it? And when I finally read the script, I was like, that's amazing. All right, let's play, let's dance.
That works. And especially as well, I think Discovery has been somewhat unfairly maligned as being very serious. And I don't think it has been for quite some time. Sure, there's serious parts, don't get me wrong. But I think perhaps maybe the early few episodes, yes, quite a heavy tone. But then very, very quickly, particularly Linus, first scene, snot everywhere.
Right.
That's not a serious show.
No, and there's also Tilly provides a really lovely buoyancy. Tilly Tilly's such a great audience character. Like a lot of people can find their way into the show via Tilly because she embodies so much incredible humanity, and it's such a winning performance. And I mean, it's such a varied crew that you're going to find someone to side with and be and engage the show with. But yeah, like I mean, it just certainly travels serious themes, but there's always some buoyancy.
I totally get it. Also, I love the way you talk about Tilly. I'm just writing this down. Linus and Tilly in spin-off in Starfleet Academy. Cool. Lovely. You heard it here first, folks.
Linus and Tilly. That would be pretty great. Married a wonderful actor.
That would be. I would watch the hell out of that. Alex Kurtzman, if you're listening to this, you have an audience for that. No problem. I'm imagining in my head that yourself, Doug Jones, Elias Toufexis, and even Shazad Latif as well. There must be just this camaraderie of the prosthetics.
Oh, absolutely. I actually don't think I was ever in the trailer with Elias. We never shot on the same day. But certainly over time, Doug and I are very much two peas in a pod, and we enjoy a very robust trailer vibe. Lots of shouting back and forth and singing and nonsense and cracking each other up and clapping. Like one of my favorite parts about prosthetic work is actually being in the prosthetics trailer. You walk in and it's this bunch of fabulous artists, and the mood is usually very good. Even if it's like there's a lot going on, the mood is creative and it's fun and there's music playing. It's like a little mini parties. Everyone's getting into their faces, and there is a beautiful camaraderie to it. One of the most profound things that I learned, Doug and I got very close over the run of the show, and we were the only two people in sort of like heavy prosthetics consistently around. And so if we were on the bridge, in between takes, everyone's running off to grab a sandwich or on their phones, and we can't use our phones because of our hands. And it's exhausting to talk because you're sort of banking your energy. And so we would just sit together, and just there's a real power in sitting with someone and knowing what their experience is. Like, we're both in this situation, we're both in this prosthetic, and we know, so we just sit and hold hands or have an idle chat. But it's just, and if my energy flagged, he would come over and give me a hug, and I would give him a hug, and at the end of the day, it's all very celebratory and joyous. And there is a huge, very special camaraderie in the prosthetics trailer and among the actors, for sure. I kept hoping there was going to be a Sorry and Brandy gag at some point. I was like, this is inevitable, right? And maybe they thought better of it. It's hard to know, because it may seem really, like that's a tricky thing to pull off with this. Anyway, so hopefully the Brandy lives large in the franchise as is, but that would have been great.
That would be, and also like the temptation. I'm thinking as a writer, the temptation to be like, turns out Sorry and Brandy is literally from Saurians. I mean, we're like, kind of, oh, what's the distilling process? No, you see that, like, basically that poor person in the elevator got a face full of Sorry and Brandy in the first episode.
Right.
That's
right. Frightening.
Tell me, are you as musical as Linus? We see Linus playing the piano this season as well.
I am a musical person, but I can't whip out a good jazz tune in a piano bar lounge. Although I was humming a Tori Amos song the whole time I was fake playing, just to give myself something to like have a rhythm to. And I'm glad and surprised that they found something that they could sub under that looked and played so well. I dabbled in piano when I was a kid, but Linus is a better piano player than I.
So to immediately bring the tone down, no.
Yes.
So the email comes through, and you discover that crap, no season 6. Because now you've already said, because you have many fingers in many pies, what's your initial? Are you like, oh crap, okay, well I have to look for, I'm writing a show or I'm doing something else. Okay, I now don't have that next year. Or is there, a full on down on the knees, no moment?
Um, it was pretty shocking. Nobody really saw it coming. The conversations off the end of season 5 was we were gonna go again, and I remember being in my office and opening the email on my phone and reading the first like 3 or 4 words, and then the gut punch of knowing without reading more what the email was about. And then my eyes kind of skipping through words, even though I already know what, I knew the gist already. And then the phone rang, and it was like a call from Burbank, and they were calling to tell me, but I was like, oh, I was I was like, I'm not speaking, I can't. I suddenly was confronted with this idea that it wouldn't be back in the head, that this amazing adventure that I had been on and learning so much from was coming to this really abrupt end. So it was, and this amazing community of people that I've gotten to know was going to be changed as a result. And so that was a lot. It was really shocking. And I'm really grateful that we got to go back and shoot that scene on the bridge. And the thing that not haunted me, but the thing that I was so aware of that whole time was just standing there with this group of people and this amazing crew, and we all have these relationships over, the 5 years, and thinking that this is the last time we're going to stand here in this way. This is the last time that we'll be like this community. Even if in 10 years, if they wanted to do a movie, it would not be the same circumstance, the same people, the same crew. It would be, this is the last time here and now that it's going to be like this here and now. And that was very emotional. It was a lot. For me, it's just back to, okay, what am I doing next? Where am I going? What am I inspired to do? Continuing my artistic practice. I really hitting season 5 and being stationed on the bridge. I felt like I had, really worked through a bunch of learning to get to that point. And I was like, I'm really on top of this now. I feel really good. I can't wait. I figured it out. So for it to stop abruptly, I was like, no, I got this now. But we all have adventures of different kinds for any number of reasons. So that has been an amazing, beautiful adventure that has changed me personally and professionally. And so we'll see what adventures unfold next and where I go as a result of the experience. But my best work now is to return to being an artist and go back to my writing and continue to build my own machine.
I love it. I love that phrase. Building your own machine. I love that.
It was an anomalously happy set. Sonequa was just a profound leader in that she led with professionalism and respect and compassion and equality and inclusiveness and support and talent, and set this really beautiful tone. And it was incredibly collaborative and incredibly fun. And when you think about what this group of people went through together, in the beginnings of the show, there were all of the switch ups behind the scenes, and then more switch up behind the scenes, and then we launch into a pandemic. And in those early days of the pandemic, when we were allowed to go back to work, I was seeing more of those people than I was my actual friends in person, because we were all kind of being tested regularly. We were in this testing cycle and taken very good care of. So we come out of the pandemic, and then we do 4, and then we do 5. So we've been through a lot together as a community. And Discovery would be a really tough show to do. It's a tough show to do. But the buoyancy of this particular community really lifted it up. And had it been any kind of a toxic community or a problematic community, it would have been a nightmare. So it's amazing to me that we came together in the way that we did, that these disparate elements were able to find a home and a peace with each other and make a thing that was exciting and fun. And we survived the journey and we went through a lot together. And it's sad that we'll never assemble in that same way. But if I ever see one of them across the room, I'm going to know instantly I have someone to talk to, that there is a huge shared experience, that we will share a laugh. We're bonded for life in a way because of that experience.
That is, I think in that final scene on the bridge, I was watching that going, that's not just the characters hugging, that's the actors. That's the actors just hugging and spending time together and just being glad to be together. It was
a very, I'm going to use the word complicated, but that has a negative connotation in it, and not in this case. There was a lot going on. And it's like this, the moment that we're shooting is this very specific moment. And because of the kind of shot that it was and the coverage they needed to get, and the cameras are swinging around, so there's multiple setups. So it actually took like 10 hours to get all. So we are on the bridge in that space, hugging and smiling for 10 hours. And we're a buoyant group of artists, and everyone's keeping it light, crew's keeping it light. We all know what this is. We're all being buoyant, and every so often there would be a hug that dipped into, the saying goodbye over and over. It was a lot. But I think it was therapeutic in a way that we really got to stand in that eternal goodbye moment for as long as we did and process that in that moment. And now that it's aired, it feels like, okay, no more waiting,
I suppose that's actually a good way of putting it. No more waiting. I suppose you filmed this up to a year ago, but now that moment is out there. And we get to celebrate E being together again, celebrate Calypso being brought back in. So I'm really happy with that. Love that.
And just in the family that is that community of people, and honor the journey that we went on together. And I know that Linus is a small piece of the Discovery adventure, but it was a giant adventure for me. And that is a lot of the emotion for me, was the size and scope of what I'd been exposed to and experienced and learned over the last 5 years, as well as met these incredible people.
That's and the nature of Star Trek now. You'll be at conventions from now until the end of time. So Linus is not gone. By no means is Linus gone. And you see again these people getting back up into the makeup and everything. So Linus may be very real going forward. You know what I mean?
100%. But I can't. I just have to do my work in the present.
Thank you very much, David. You are an absolute gentleman. Where is the best place for people to see your work and to follow you online or in person?
So you can follow me on Instagram at davbentom, the first 3 letters of my names. And then, I have nothing official to announce about next steps. But I'll be posting it there for sure.
Excellent, cool. Man of mystery. I love it. It's great. This was wonderful. I really, really appreciate you coming on and just chatting and shooting the breeze. And Linus will ride again. I know
Linus will ride again. We will see what happens. Here's to a beautiful 5 seasons of Discovery and the adventure of what's next.
Thank you so much for watching this abbreviated version of this podcast. Now, if you go to our audio platforms, you will get the full version of this podcast with this guest. So we really, really appreciate you subscribing to that, and you're just awesome and wonderful. Thank you so much.